Hello everyone, welcome to the first annual Golden Wheel. My name's Kevin, and I will be your host for this episode. Thought I needed to do something extra special and extra fun to round up and judge my favorite releases of this past year in hard rock, metal, and beyond. Hence the creation of these awards. I could also do a monologue on how these past few years have been really dread for a lot of people, but let's be honest. I think we already knew that already. So, let's begin with these categories. We've got 21 of them on the docket. First up, the nominees for every metalhead's favorite punching bag that I'll stand to defend to my death. New metal. We've got 3 nominees for this one. The best new metal release. Unstable by THRASH, released on April 30th, 2021 via Napalm Records. Cost Alarm by Slava to Prevail, released August 13th, 2021 via SUMERIAN Records. And Still Stuck by Limp Bizkit, released on October 31st, 2021 via Showtone Records. And the Golden Wheel goes to Unstable by THRASH. These guys knocked it out of the park this past year when it came to emulating the sound and feel of the bands of the late 90s and early 2000s new metal movement. They remind me, and probably many other people, of the band my generation grew up listening to when we were all edgy teenagers just trying to find our way in life. THRASH brings me back to listening sessions in my room, pouring all over the antsy digital records on my old iPod Touch, Korn, System of a Down, Cold Chamber, and perhaps most significantly, Linkin Park. Congratulations guys on the first Golden Wheel. I look forward to see what you all do in the future. Next is the award for metalcore, a genre that has become very saturated with trendy gent bands in recent years, but nonetheless had some throwbacks to the old, early, and mid-2000s as well. The nominees are as follows. The best metalcore release. Lost in the Waves by Landmark, released March 19th, 2021 via Arising Empire. The Fire Itself by Finny Hat, released August 21st, 2021 via Solid State Records. Eternal Blue by Spiritbox, released September 17th, 2021 via Pure Chord Music and Rise Records. Manic by Wage War, released October 1st, 2021 via Fearless Records. Radical by Every Time I Die, released October 22nd, 2021 via Epitaph Records. The Romance of Affliction by Sea Space Cowboy, released November 5th, 2021 via Pure Noise Records. And the Golden Wheel goes to Eternal Blue by Spirit Box. So hear me out. I only recently had this album click with me over the last month after several months of scrutinizing it. What this band does best is hooks and superb riffs and breakdowns. There are so many great moments with Courtney LaPlante's voice and her husband Mike Stringer's riffing. The ferociousness of the outro of Sunkiller and the live staple hit Holy Roller, the mind-bending interplay of the guitar and bass in the verses of Secret Garden, the midpoint flip from electropop to atmospheric chug metal in We Live in a Strange World, the emotional closing track Constant. This has recently revealed itself to be an LP that was bolder than it appeared on the surface. And for that, this Victoria, British Columbia-based band got their first Golden Wheel. Great job, guys. Following that, we have the nominations for thrash metal. This is a genre I admittedly never really got into in 2021, aside from a couple of releases. Therefore, we only have 2 nominees for this category. Best thrash metal release. So It Goes by Demoniac, released January 29th, 2021 by Edge Circle Productions, and Hell Unleashed by EVANT-GARDE, released April 30th, 2021 by Napalm Records. And the golden wheel goes to So It Goes by Demoniac, not to be confused with the New Zealand-based black metal band of the same name. This Demoniac is from Chile. They play thrash metal in the vein of the Teutonic scene from Germany. Think bands like Creator, Destruction, Stardom, etc. And also of some black and thrash acts too. But there's a twist. They have a clarinet in their sound. This makes for a really unique listening experience, unlike anything else released in thrash metal this year. If you by chance are looking for something different in your thrash metal than the usual Slayer or Metallica clone, check this thing out. To the band, I say, buen trabajo, guys. Hopefully you can come up to Canada, excuse my rusty Spanish, to play shows in the near future. Next up is deathcore, a subgenre that has had a bit of a renaissance in recent years, thanks to the proliferation of symphonic blackened bands that have exploded in popularity, one of which happens to be a nominee for this year's award. There has also been a slew of artists that have dabbled in traces of nu metal and gent, and a few of these are nominees as well. So without further ado, here are the nominees for the Best Deathcore Release. Best Deathcore Release. Balde by Humanity's Last Breath, released February 12, 2021 via Unique Leader Records. Lifeblood by Brand of Sacrifice, released March 5th, 2021 via Blood Blast. And I Return to Nothingness EP by Lorna Shore, released August 13th via Century Media Records. Cost Alarm by Slaughter to Prevail, released August 13th, 2021 via Sumerian Records. And Kin by Whitechapel, released October 29th, 2021 via Metal Blade Records. And the golden wheel goes to Balde by Humanity's Last Breath. This latest album from the Swedish band was stupidly heavy. It has held up wonderfully over the last 11 months, and rightfully so, because what these Swedes do with atmosphere is absolutely insane. Conjuring up visions of a demented hellscape with chugging breakdowns and eerie electronics, they have a way with dissonance that remind me of that Ultimate album from 2020. And that last track, are you guys playing with bridge cables? Or are those actual guitar notes? Because that kind of tuning should be illegal. Jet police, open up! In all seriousness though, these guys deserve to be opening up for Meshuggah in the near future, if they haven't already done so. They got those golden wheel and then some. We follow up with death metal. Death metal hasn't really been my main priority like it was the past couple of years, but a few releases still ended up impressing me, including a veteran institution of the subgenre, a rap and death doom release that surprised me, considering I'm not really a huge fan of that genre, and a very, very late release that actually inspired me to do this whole award show. Here are the nominees for the Best Death Metal Release of 2021. Best Death Metal Release. Seven Evils Spawned of Seven Heads by Swamp Beast, released February 12, 2021 via Translation Lost Records. The Cyclic Reckoning by Suffering Hour, released February 19, 2021 via Profound Lore. Pain, Resistance, Suffering by Phlebotomize, released April 9, 2021 via Petrichor. Violence Unimagined by Cannibal Corpse, released April 16, 2021 via Metal Blade Records. Degeneration by Discord, released August 13, 2021 via Transcending Obscurity Records. Torn Arteries by Carcass, released September 17, 2021 by Nuclear Blast Records. Bleed the Future by Archfire, released October 29, 2021 by Season of Mist. Preserved in Torment by Mortiferin, released November 5th, 2021 by Profound Lore. Slave to the Scalpel by 200 Scab Wounds, released November 12th, 2021 by Maggot Stomp Records. And Chimera Bites Runaway, released December 10th, 2021 by Nuclear Winter Records. And the Golden Wheel goes to Torn Arteries by Conscious. Well, this spot, and the award for black metal as well, could have been won by one album that I will talk about later on. But I felt it would be unfair to the other releases in both subgenres, so I chose different ones for both. In the case of death metal, the newest album from Carcass takes home the Golden Wheel simply because of their talent and the desire to not take themselves too seriously with their brand of melodic death metal. Bill Steele's riffing remains as tight and as catchy as ever, and Jeff Walker still has that growl that complements those riffs perfectly. He hasn't aged a day, and they are both in their 50s, which is quite old for playing in quite a fast, heavy genre like death metal. In terms of where this album sits in this group's 30-plus year history, it leans heavily on the melodic side of how it works. So there are slight callbacks to the late 80s grindcore days and a cowbell in Dance of Ixtab that recalls the flirtations with the death and roll subgenre in 1996 Swan Song. However, they still found room to experiment with their sound. The Middle Eastern-inspired clean intro on The Devil Rides Out and the funky backbeat at the very beginning of lead single Kelly's Meat Emporium comes to mind. All in all, this is a fun album from one of the most consistent and long-running extreme metal bands around. Now is your chance to get on the Carcass hype train if you have never checked out these guys, because this is killer stuff. Get on it. But here we go on to black metal. This is the metal subgenre that I basically ate, slept, and breathed for the majority of 2021, especially in the later, colder months. There wasn't a day that went by where I wasn't listening to black metal, either in the car or blasting through my headphones or through a speaker of some sort. I ended up subscribing to a few promotional channels here on YouTube, most notably the Order of the Black Oak and the Anti-Fascist Black Metal Network. Getting into black metal showed me quite a few things. Most notably that the best music in the genre doesn't always come from the best people, unfortunately, whether they be musicians or even record labels. Here are my 12 nominees for Best Black Metal Release of 2021. Best Black Metal Release. Chapter 1, Across the Mountains of the Drama Score by Ancient Mastery, released January 8, 2021, independently. As the Flame Withers by Yarfuria, released January 25th, 2021 by A Pagan Records. The Cyclic Reckoning by Suffering Hour, released February 19th, 2021 by Profound Lore. Mention Mule by Conan Fiber, released February 20th, 2021 by Anoidbringer Records. Pure Swordsman by Kak'Arak, released April 10th, 2021 by Liver Mortis. Paradigma, False Beams of Aphotic Eternity by Inferno, released May 7th, 2021 by Devilmore Morty Productions. Eve by Balmog, released May 14th, 2021 by War Anthem Records. The Intimate Earth by Feld, released July 2nd, 2021 by Transcending Obscurity Records. Submission and Slavery by Lamp of Murmur, released September 16th, 2021 independently. Illusions in the Wake by Norton, released October 15th, 2021 by Transcending Obscurity. Tales of Other Time by Stormkeep, released November 19th, 2021 by AVANT-GARDE. And Tristiagon by Ethereal Shroud, released December 10th, 2021, independently for digital copies and via Northern Silence Productions for physical copies. And the golden wheel goes to Twistalgia by Ethereal Shroud, sorry if I mispronounced. Quite a last-minute steal by this doom-influenced atmospheric black metal project from Great Britain, but it's a testament to how gorgeous and well executed this final album is. For the uninitiated, Ethereal Shroud was a project started in 2013 on the Isle of Wight by a musician named Joseph Hawker that would later relocate to Sheffield, England. I found out about this project through 2015's They Became the Fallen Ash. Hawker's music for this project was grand and sweeping, with epic rallying cries for the rejection of the dark sides of organized religions and the evils of fascism, all while trying to promote optimism in a time where everything seems to be crumbling down. With Tsagian, he continues this musical palette, balancing emotion and rage equally through 3 epic tracks, none of them shorter than 13 minutes. I should also mention that the session drummer on this LP is also the drummer for fellow Golden Wheel nominees Norton. This album was a fitting conclusion to the Ethereal Shroud project, and I cannot wait to see what Mr. Hawker does next. Bravo, good sir. And we move ever onward to BLACKGAZE. This fusion genre of shoegaze and black metal has come a long way since Alcest invented it and Death Heaven helped to popularize it. Admittedly, I wasn't really into artists that play in that particular field this past year in terms of new stuff, but I still have 4 nominees up for the best BLACKGAZE release. Best BLACKGAZE release: Empire of Love by Violet Cold, released May 7th, 2021, independently. Wild Hunt by Lantlos, released July 30th, 2021 by Prophecy Productions. Beautiful Ghost by Unrequited, released August 13th, 2021 via Prophecy Productions. And Diorama by Mole, released November 5th, 2021 by Nuclear Blast Records. And the golden wheel goes to Diorama by Mole, the sophomore LP from a Danish BLACKGAZE group. Essentially fills that hole for more stuff in the style of Death Heaven's first 3 albums and expands on them as well. While the Californian trailblazers in Death Heaven focused more on the atmosphere when they did this style, More, on the other hand, has more of a punchiness that reminds me of a punk or even an early 2000s metalcore band. They also dabble in clean singing on a few tracks, most notably on the single Vestige, and sing in their native language a little bit too. In short, this is quite a riveting and emotional album from Mole, and I am eagerly awaiting what they do next. And a shout out to Forge Master Metal Reviews for getting me into this album. You guys rule. Thank you, Brandon and Ben. Next up is the prize for Best Traditional Metal Release. In terms of recent metal that played by the rulebook of the Iron Maidens and the Judas Priest and even cult styles like those of Manila Road and Broken Town and also Stoic Ungol, there wasn't a lot that grabbed my attention like in past years, but I still have 3 albums nominated for this award, so let's get right to them. Best Traditional Metal Release: Le Dernier Rampart by Herzl, released March 12, 2021 by Cruz del Sur Music. Shock to the System by Tower, released November 12, 2021 by Cruz del Sur Music. And Spell Sorcery Abounds by Mortal Blade, released November 26, 2021 by No Remorse Records. And the golden wheel goes to shock to the system by Power, pardon the pun. But this second album from the New York City-based band was a shock to my system. Most of that came from the sheer power of vocalist Sarah Beth Linden. Her voice is absolutely phenomenal, boasting quite an impressive range that honestly should be up there with the great belters of the early 1980s British wave of metal bands. Honestly, she carries this record, and they should be lucky to have such a talent at the microphone. But a great traditional heavy metal band is nothing without some competent players. And fortunately, Tower had some. Guitarists Zach Penley and James Danzo do a great job of emulating some of those 70s and 80s influences, and the drummer James Jones has sort of an early speed metal garb in his form, similar to the late great Filthy Animal of Motorhead fame. Former bassist Jeff Filmer also did a great job in filling out their sound in this LP. Overall, Shock to the System was a great introduction for me to these guys, and I am pumped to see what they do next. Certainly a band to keep an eye on, in my opinion. Next up is traditional metal progenitors, doom metal. This was one of my least listened to subgenres in 2021. However, I still find a few worthwhile releases to nominate, one of which easily takes home the award for me, and it's not the one you think it will be. Here are those nominees for Best Doom Metal Release. Best Doom Metal Release: Collapse by Misa, released July 16, 2021 independently. Deceiver by Chemist, released November 19, 2021 by Nuclear Blast Records. Moonflowers by Swallow the Sun, released November 19, 2021 by Century Media Records. And the golden wheel goes to Collapse by Misa. This debut album from the American post-metal / sludge metal band most likely flew under so many people's radars this past year. That's a crying shame because this record is fantastic. It's a grand statement commenting on the ecological destruction that humanity is continuing to bring upon the Earth's ecosystems. It's only 37 minutes long, which is very, very short for a Doom-adjacent release. And the band shows their talent for creating a desolate atmosphere. If you missed this in 2021, definitely go give it a listen because it needs a lot more than what the YouTube metal reviewer community gave it last year, which is to say, very, very little. That needs to change. This is a severely underrated album, and you better hear it. From here, we go on to hardcore, a genre that has some overlap with metalcore and hard rock, especially with one of the nominees on this list, as well as grindcore. There was one very, very outstanding release 2021 that managed to impress critics across the board, myself included, that I'll get to. But overall, hardcore has kind of a quiet year in comparison to its more extreme, distant cousins in black metal. Still, I have a couple releases nominated for the best hardcore release, and they are here as follows. Best hardcore release: Below by Beartooth, released June 25th, 2021 via Red Bull Records, and Glow On by Turnstile, released August 27th, 2021 via Roadrunner Records. And the Golden Wheel Award goes to Glow On by Turnstile. This third album from the Baltimore hardcore group has gotten boatloads and boatloads of praise. And that's for a good reason, folks. It's one of those records that can serve as a gateway to the hardcore punk subgenre and is simultaneously creative, catchy, and engaging. They really did a great job blending hardcore with all sorts of different strains of music, including both inside of punk and outside of it. The little inclusions of synths and touches of congas in some of the tracks really helped to elevate the album above their contemporaries. There's also that sort of samba influenced groove and glam metal guitar solo on Don't Play, and the catchy, almost pop punk of Underwater Boys. And honestly, there are so many great moments on this LP, but it can be pretty underwhelming to talk about, in a good way. I also want to add that they do a few tracks with British R&B singer Blood Orange that allows them to truly experiment with atmosphere to add to the record's diversity. All in all, for the creativity and catchiness alone, this LP gets a much-deserved golden wheel, a heck of a fun record. My first unanimous decision has come in the form of the winner of the biggest surprise of the year award to a band that if you told me I was going to enjoy their music 5 years ago, or even at the end of 2019, I would have called you crazy. But in 2021, I actually enjoyed the album from an artist that might ruffle some feathers with reviewers on YouTube and the greater part of the internet due to the past reputation of a radio butt rock band. Well, time to come clean on this. The biggest surprise of the year goes to Dearly Beloved by Daughtry. Yeah, I'm just as shocked as you guys are. Never in a million years would I ever thought I was going to like anything by the former American Idol contestant. Yet here we are with Dearly Beloved. Chris Daughtry and his band have embraced hard rock, and this style fits so well with that powerful voice that people fell in love with 15 years ago. My favorites on the LP are the singles World on Fire and Heavy as the Crown, as well as the passionate slow burner called Desperation that opens up the album, and the driving cut Changes Are Coming. The only dud in this track list is Somebody, which harkens back to that electro pop era of his work that I was never a fan of. Overall, though, this is Chris Daughtry's best album by a freaking mile and a half. I am not joking. Looking back, it's such a shame that he did not sound like this during the height of his popularity in the mid-2000s, because if he had gone down this route back then, I would have been much more of a fan. Better late than never, I guess. Speaking of hard rock, this year was a good year for that genre, if you ask me. Quite a few records made the nominee list, including a young rock band from Michigan who are trying to revive the sound of 70s classic rock, the aforementioned surprise from a former 2000s radio staple, a hardcore band with a knack for hooks and a driving energy, and a former Warped Tour metalcore staple turned red state rock group from Britain who released a good LP that flew under everybody's radar due to a bungled, really bad promotional job from their new label. Let's find out who will win for the best hard rock release of 2021, shall we? Best hard rock release. The Battle at Garden's Gate by Greta Van Fleet, released April 16, 2021 via Republic Records. Below by Beartooth, released June 25, 2021 via Red Bull Records. Dearly Beloved by Daughtry, released September 17, 2021 via Dogtree Records. Horizons/East by Thrice, released September 17, 2021 via Epitaph Records. And See What's on the Inside by Asking Alexandria, released October 1st, 2021 via Better Noise Music. And the golden wheel goes to Horizons/East by Thrice. The winner turns out to be none of what I said earlier. The greater state is what. In all seriousness, this new Thrice record is a great listen. It is atmospheric, it is well written, and it is full of hooks, which is a feat that is quite harder to pull off than it looks. The opener, The Color of the Sky, is a stunning statement with that looping synth melody setting that aforementioned tone for the LP, and it keeps going after that with strong song after strong song. My personal favorites are Northern Lights and Scavengers. The former track in particular features the piano in a really interesting way that I haven't really heard from a lot of semi-mainstream rock in recent years. Really, really cool stuff. The only track I didn't really like was the closer. First singer Dustin Kendrew on that track is whispering and it's gloomy piano instrumental. And as a person who is very hard of hearing, it's hard to make out what he's saying. It's not clear enough for me. I tried following along with the lyrics, but I had no luck. But yeah, this is a really cool record that, just like the Turnstile one, gets by on freshness and creativity. And that's why it gets the award for Best Hard Rock Release. Up next is the nominee list for Best Progressive Rock / Metal Release. This past year wasn't too big on prog, but there were still a few releases I loved that could fit under that umbrella, including my pick for the winner that Mike drives in keyboard where it was nuts, saying, "Ooh, it's not prog!" Ooh. Anyways, here's the list for the Best Progressive Rock / Metal Release of 2021. Best Progressive Rock / Metal Release. Witness by Vola, released May 21st, 2021 by Mascot Records. Aphelion by Lapras, released August 27th, 2021 by INSIDEOUT Music. And This Place Will Become Your Tune by Street Token, released September 24th, 2021 by a Spine Farm Records. And the Golden Wheel goes to This Place Will Become Your Tune by Street Token. I didn't really know what to put this release in at first. It could have ran in new metal, it could have ran in the metalcore category, but I feel like Sleep Token cast too wide of a musical net to be put in a small box like that. So I put it in the progressive category because, well, it literally progresses both of those aforementioned subgenres, if that makes any sense, onto the record itself. If you watch my rant video or seen what I said on my segment for my favorite releases of the autumn of 2021, you probably already know that I love this band and I love this album. But for those who didn't, I'll explain why I love this album in brief. This anonymous collective really knows how to write emotional songs and pair them with bone-crushing breakdowns. Tracks like Hypnosis, Mine, and lead single Alkaline demonstrate this ability, as well as their penchant for blending dark pop or modern R&B sensibilities with heavy rock and metal. I will mention that the synth line in Mine reminds me a lot of another nominee in this list, the Danish band Vola. It really sounds like something they do, and I wonder if the Sleep Token guys were listening to Vola while creating this record. It would make perfect sense, right? I also have to mention that the drummer is an incredible player, and the production on the drums is some of the crispest I have heard in the entire music business. There is a lot to like about this record in general, and that is why I made the gutsy decision to nominate this as the best progressive rock and metal release of 2021. Congratulations, Sleep Token. Following that, we have the award for the best avant-garde metal release. And quite frankly, there were a lot of bands willing to push the boundaries of metal this year. Some I hadn't had the chance of listening to just because there were so many releases that were being recommended to me from Bandcamp and elsewhere. But those that made the list for this award show were the ones I listened to and quite enjoyed. Let's see these brain-scrambling releases. Best Avant-Garde Metal Release. Imperative Imperceptible Impulse by Ad Nauseam, released February 12, 2021 by AVANT-GARDE Music. What Vacant by Grey Aura, released April 17, 2021 by ANTHEM Productions. Degenerations by Discord, released August 13, 2021 by Transcending Obscurity Records. Talking in Tongues with Mountain Spirits by Primeval Well, released October 20th by a Moonlight Cypress Earthquake, and In Power Kipe by Katira, released November 26, 2021 independently. And the Golden Wheel goes to Imperative Imperceptible Logic. If there was any release this year that deserves an award just because it's so insanely bonkers and nuts in its composition, the sophomore album from this Italian avant-garde death metal band is a masterclass in how to apply the influence of postmodernist classical music to the canvas of extreme metal. Each song is a dissonant death metal epic that defies easy classification, with twisted labyrinthine structures backed by some of the most insane drumming I have heard in extreme music all year. Seriously, this is probably one of the best drumming performances I have ever heard on a 2020 release in any genre. That's really the bulk of what I can say about this thing, because holy moly, this is incredible and it deserves attention. Go listen to it. You have to hear it to believe it. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm going to bring down the mood a bit. Forget about great releases for now. Ever had a release that you were waiting for turned out to be a flop? I'm willing to bet that if you're a music fan like me, you've had that happen at least once in your life, right? I know I have been either disappointed that that's just it was okay at the first listen of an LP or EP before. These next two unanimous awards are for those unfortunate distinctions, starting with the latter. Most meh released of the year. The Phantom Tomorrow by BLACKGAZE, released October 29th by SUMERIAN Records. Unlike the snobby elitists online throw all these homophobic slurs at them like it's still the mid-2000s, I actually like and respect BLACKGAZE a whole lot. Their overall message of embracing the differences and uniquenesses is such a great thing to spread around, and their updated glam metal sound really helped to act as a solid gateway into heavier music for many a Warped Tour attending scene kids back in the late 2000s and early 2010s. These guys didn't get enough credit as a gateway band back then, and it honestly makes me so sad that they're not held up to the same standards of the bands Sevenfold, Breaking Benjamins, or Bullet for My Valentine in terms of metal-adjacent gateway bands. They have one problem though. They can't write concept records. The last time they tried to do it was 2013's Wretched and Divine. They bookended tracks with these very vague intros and interludes that didn't make a whole lot of sense unless you were like a die-hard fan of the band back then. They told an outline, not a story. And no good song could change my opinion on that. After a couple albums going back to what I think they do best with solid self-contained songs, we got the second job at a concept record in 2021. And it contains another pointless intro and interlude. Blackfoot Bride, why do you do this? Both add nothing to the album. But what about the tracks that are left? Well, Scarlet Cross is a good heavy rock single with a sing-along chorus. Nothing groundbreaking, but good nonetheless. Crimson Skies has a nice, almost thrash metal riff, and it's far and away the heaviest thing on the album. I'm really struggling to really find compliments to these songs because they're just dark, heavy rock at the end of the day. That's why it's the most meh release of the year for 2021. Not bad, nor is it really amazing or anything. And the intros and interludes, it's just there. Biggest disappointment of the year. Solar Power by Lord, released August 20th, 2021 by Universal Music. After 5 years of waiting, the third LP by Lord was such a letdown. She took several steps back from the greatness that was a modern pop masterpiece in melodrama and just embraced elevator pop. Like that kind of pop that you hear quietly droning out of a waiting room while you sit there for your forthcoming appointment. Like, is my appointment up yet? It was just so sad to see her musically regress like this. And honestly, for now, she's a one-album artist for me. Sorry, Lord. I don't think we needed to hear Summery Beach music at a time where the world was and is still currently suffering from a pandemic. No matter how sarcastic you were attempting to be, just saying. However, a disappointing album, there can still be a great song buried in there somewhere, waiting to be discovered amidst all the blandness. Here is the unanimous choice for the best song from a forgettable metal release. Best song from a forgettable metal release. Chasing Shadows by Imminent from their album Heaven and Hiding, released by a rising empire. The rest of this newest LP from the Swedish melodic metalcore group is bland and sort of aimless and samey, but this song is probably one of the greatest melodic metalcore singles that came out in 2021. It is just stomach and flows so well structurally and compositionally. Eddie Berg is in top form here, proving that he is one of the best singers in melodic metalcore right now, with his use of emotion and conviction to sell a powerful message in a single that I've just been playing on repeat ever since it first released way back in October. Too bad that the rest of the album doesn't even come close to the height of that song. I would have liked a little more diversity on that LP to shake things up. But Chasing Shadows, man, that song deserves a golden wheel. Best song from a forgettable non-metal release, Hallelujah by DEATHCORE from their album Music of the Field, released by a telephone 10-minute epic that closes Coldplay's newest album is grandiose and incredible. I have been a casual fan of these guys for a very, very, very long time, stretching back to childhood. And I can honestly say that this is one of their greatest songs ever. The way it opens with these rushes of twinkling piano and strings is just gorgeous. And then the harmonies are just a great homage to the legendary prog rock groups of the 70s. It really does not feel like 10 minutes at all. And it's a crying shame that it happens to be at the end of such a disappointment of an album, because this deserves to be heard not just by fans, but by people who have written off Coldplay in the past. So yeah, Coldplay doing prog rock, surprisingly pretty good. Check it out if you missed it in 2021. Now, we are on to the absolute best of 2021. What did Will of Mercury think was the greatest hard rock / metal and non-hard rock / metal release ever? Who will take home the grand prize of Song of the Year? Well, we will start with the releases. Firstly, the rock and metal category. The inaugural list of nominees for Will of Mercury's top hard rock / metal release of the year includes a few extreme early barn burners, a heavily atmospheric release from one of mainstream hard rock's best kept secrets, and a late coming atmospheric black metal masterpiece that slipped just as most will finish their year-end list back in December. See why this award show is in January, folks? You never know what could slip through the cracks. Without further ado, here are the nominees for Wheels of Mercury's top hard rock / metal release of the year. Wheels of Mercury's top hard rock / metal release of the year. Imperative Imperceptible Impulse by Ad Nauseam, released February 12th, 2021 via AVANT-GARDE Music. The Cyclic Reckoning by Suffering Hour, released February 19th, 2021 via Profile Lore. Glow On by Turnstile, released August 27th, 2021 via Roadrunner. Horizon/East by Thrash, released September 17th, 2021 via Epitaph Records. This Place Will Become Your Tune by Sleep Token, released September 24th, 2021 via Spine Farm. And Trisagon by Ethereal Shroud, released December 10th, 2021 independently. And the Golden Wheel Award goes to The Cyclic Reckoning by Suffering Hour. This is the record that I could have chosen to win in both the black and death metal categories, but I didn't, because much like artists when they win multiple times at the Grammys, I will probably run out of great things to say about this black and death metal masterpiece. And there are a lot of things I have to say. It is evil, it is hopeless, it is demented. It gives off the feeling of a malevolent God laying waste to everything they created, and you are helpless as you watch that giant fist coming crash into the earth with an uncareful Satanist. The guitar sound is freaking phenomenal. It's like a mixture of Slayer, a Morbid Angel, dark, slow riff mixed with 80s goth rock, post-punk, and a bit of weird psychedelia. Oh, and also black instrumental. Don't forget that. And the weird riffs they come up with are so darn catchy and entrancing. They would literally get stuck in my head for months at a time. Even when I was listening to other stuff, the riff for Strongholds of Awakening, the opener, would just be playing on loop on my subconsciousness, begging me to play the album again. Like I said earlier, I could go all day about these compositions and the instrumentals, but the vocals complete the package with the death metal growls that really sell home the whole flippin' vibe of this record. And to top off why this is my metal album of the year, the album name to me just summarizes the entire existence of humanity as a whole. Just repeating these same atrocities over and over and over again, century in and century out. Unfortunately, nothing ever changes. Everything is cyclic, and we all have reckonings about our ancestries when they turn out to be problematic. Such is the wheel of life, and Suffering Hour has really earned a place on my personal wheel. Hence why they win a golden one for my top hard rock/metal release of the year. Next up is all of the stuff outside of hard rock and metal. There were some stellar releases across the board of other genres, including a stunning experimental rock debut from a promising 7-piece out of the UK, another debut from a young starter whose first single was the #1 song in the world during the first quarter of last year, a spellbinding earth pop masterpiece destined to become a cult classic, and a noisy yet beautiful LP from one of the longest running groups in the genre known as slowcore. Here are the nominees for Wheels of Mercury's top non-hard rock/metal release of the year. Wheels of Mercury's top non-hard rock/metal release of the year. For the First Time by Black Country New Road, released February 5th, 2021 by a Ninja Tune. Promises by Floating Point, Pharoah Sanders and the London Symphony Orchestra, released March 26th, 2021 by Luaka Bop Incorporated. Sour by Olivia Rodrigo, released May 21st, 2021 by Geffen Records. I Lie Here Buried With My Wings and My Dresses by Backwatch, released June 20th, 2021 by Ugly Head Records. The Turning Wheel by Spelling, released June 25th, 2021 by Sacred Bones Records. Hey What by Low, released September 10th, 2021 by Sub Pop Records. Mercurial War by Magdalena Bay, released October 8th, 2021 by Luminal. And An Evening with Silk Sonic by Silk Sonic featuring Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, released November 12th, 2021 by Aftermath Entertainment and Atlantic Records. And the golden wheel goes to The Turning Wheel by Spelling. If you've been around the YouTube music critics field for the past bit, you might have heard a certain bald-headed reviewer sing his praises for the album. Well, you've heard Anthony Fantano's take on this album. Wanna hear mine? Let's go! This LP is an incredible achievement considering the state of the world back when Tia Cabral, the real name of Spelling, was just finishing it up. The amount of careful orchestration and people who worked on providing the backing instrumentation for this album was an insane number for a small artist like her. All of them kill it too. My personal favorite being the guitarist Lisa Reed and her solo on Magic Act. Such a great moment in an album full of great moments. Each song is its own self-contained story. The mythical dark folklore of Little Deer, the perspective of an emperor penguin told so wistfully an emperor with an egg, and how about the loneliness and yearning that fuels the highlight boys at school? Man, oh man, is that song a stunner. Detractors of this album will point to the obvious Kate Bush influences as the reason for dismissing the album. I would like to offer up a counterpoint here that, yes, it does sound like Kate Bush, but she hasn't released an album in 10 years. And this Spelling album fills that hole perfectly, with Tia's own flair and its modern production making it a little different and more current than, say, Hounds of Love, for example. So yeah, due to the impeccable instrumentation and storytelling on this record, Spelling wins the golden wheel for my top non-hard rock / metal release of the year. I really want to see this live, and I hope to get that chance in the near future. Until then, I'll just keep reveling in the wonders of this album. Surely a modern classic. Before we wrap up the first annual Golden Wheel Awards, I have one more prize to give out, and that is for Song of the Year. In a year where so much music was released due to global circumstances, there also came with it amazing songs to define my 365 days perfectly. There are heartbreakers, tearjerkers, rockers, rages, groovers, and atmospheric vibes on this list of nominees. So who would take home the golden wheel for Wheels of Mercury, Song of the Year? Wheels of Mercury, Song of the Year. Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo, originally released January 8th, 2021 by Geffen Records. Leave the Door Open by Silk Sonic, originally released March 5th, 2021 by Atlantic Records and Aftermath Entertainment. Wildfire Part 1 by John Reid, released May 7th, 2021 by Prosthetic Records. Boys at School by Spelling, released May 11th, 2021 by Sacred Bones Records. Pennsylvania Furnace by Lingua Ignota, originally released June 17th by Sargent House. Magic Act by Spelling, released June 25th, 2021 by Sacred Bones Records. Halley's Comet by Billie Eilish, released June 30th, 2021 by Interscope. Coloratura by Coldplay, released July 23rd, 2021 by Apollophone. Alone Again by Asking Alexandria, released August 20th, 2021 by Better Noise Music. Out of Here by Leprous, released August 27th, 2021 by Inside Out Music. Return by Emma Ruth Rundle, released September 9th, 2021 by Sargent House Records. Chasing Shadows by Eminence, originally released October 29th, 2021 by Arising Empire, and To Be Loved by Adele, released November 19th, 2021 by Columbia Records. And the golden wheel goes to Pennsylvania Furnace by Lingua Ignota. Where do I even start with this song? Let me preface this by telling you guys who Lingua Ignota is. It's the recording alias of one Christian Hater, singer-songwriter from California whose style dabbles in noise, metal, chamber music, and opera with a visual intensity in both her music and her lyrics. Apparently, her last album from 2019, Caligula, dealt with the themes of a very, very intense abusive relationship at the hands of a man that she dated a few years back. And only now, I met God, I was finding out who that guy was. I had avoided her stuff for a while because of the intense lyrical content across that album and her 2017 output, and I still haven't listened to those records in full to this day. Though I was mildly intrigued, I really didn't pay much attention to her music. I did not think that I ever was going to hear a full song from Lingua Ignota. But that changed when, while checking out the new Death Heaven single back in August of 2021, the YouTube algorithm recommended the music video for the single for her then upcoming album, Sinner Get Ready, based on the fact that both artists shared the same label. So I ended up listening to Pennsylvania Furnace along with the music video. And you know how when you watch or listen to something so uncompromisingly vivid and striking that you'll forever remember the moment you first experienced it? Pennsylvania Furnace, both the song and the music video, was one of those moments. It was transcending and ethereal, hearing Kristen's voice float above the tender, sparse piano arranged, powerful and devastating lyrics, denouncing the horrors of vile human monsters, twisting organized religion into a weapon to hurt marginalized groups, especially women. The imagery of a burning house, tying it all together with the grace of someone who has seen and prospered through a lot of adversity and came out stronger than she ever was before. The song was quite a statement from Lingua Ignota. Even if I never ended up listening to Sinner Get Ready in full because it didn't really click with me, I will still remember the sheer catharsis and emotion that Pennsylvania Furnace gave me upon that first listen, and that is why I'm awarding it the Golden Wheel Award for Song of the Year for 2021. If you haven't checked out this track, I highly implore you to give it a listen. Fantastic stuff, and a message for Kristen: times will get better for you, I promise. This concludes the first episode. I appreciate you all tuning in. Whether one person or hundreds, hit the subscribe button and bell icon to follow here's the most news today. This is from the DWH. I'll be Goodman. After this, it's back to normal programming. So this can see you all in the next ceremony, January of 2023. That's a long ways away. Take care, guys.